dear community of ReConnect Brno Music Conference. We're very honored to have Lisa Branigan, the director of Replay Music CIC.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Thank you for finding time for us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
How was the journey to Brno for you?
Well, it was good, yeah. It was long, but you know, I'm here.
We saw each other just briefly in the middle of the night during the Water Tanks tour. How was that for you?
Oh my gosh, that place is a hidden gem, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
It's amazing.
I heard there are 3 of those. I was,
right.
We were just in the Žlutý kopec, the golden yellow hill, if I'm translating it correctly, and it was my first experience ever. For you as well, right?
Yeah, amazing place.
What would be for you like the ideal thing that could happen over there? Like a theater play, underground, alternative concert? What would be?
Just, I feel like people, to me it looked like a hidden underground town or something. So yeah, I could imagine a concert or a theatre, a play would be amazing down there. Yeah.
If you're talking about those hidden gems, take us to England and tell us what could be like a hidden gem that you would say, we have that, and you probably didn't hear about that.
Oh, hidden gems. Are we talking venues or just in general, spaces?
We can let spaces, because this thing is like multi-usage.
Yeah, there are some really interesting spaces in the UK. Like they just opened up a few years back. They opened up the underground spaces, like you know the London Underground.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So they open up old railway stations that were closed years ago, and they're doing tours under there.
Wow,
that's kind of interesting.
And the area sounds incredible, especially it has a long history during the bombing of the Second World War.
Yeah.
So why were those closed? You said
I think they just weren't maintained, probably, you know, and they had new routes built and stuff. But they're doing tours of those stations now, which I think is really quite interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was just participating in the concert of the Czech band Yamaha Oriental. They're mixing like this Balkan brass, everything, and they remind me of too many zoos who were also playing in New York underground metro subway areas. What was some incredible performance that you've heard recently and saw in some underground, either London or somewhere else?
Underground. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I can't answer that one actually.
Like imagine like a saxophone player, you're walking to your job and you want to jump into the metro and this guy's playing this incredible saxophone.
I'm not in London anymore, so I haven't been for a while, so I don't see busking anymore. I mean, I'm actually so busy with event work that I actually don't go out. Only when I come to the conferences now to find the bands. Okay. And when I was in London, I would when I was like in my 20s and I was living in London, I would be at a venue 3 nights a week easily. Because I used to go to the Marquee Club in central London, pay £2, go and see these bands that ended up being huge successes in years to come, like The Mission, Sisters of Mercy. They would all be in this tiny little venue. But I haven't personally gone to those kind of places for a long time now, because I'm now living in the countryside. Okay.
How is life there?
Quiet. But again, like I said, I'm so busy doing event work that I don't notice that it's quiet, because I just have no time. Yeah.
So if we can, if you could take us back, when was the organization Replay Music CIC established and co-founded by you? When was that, and what was the motivation?
So that was the motivation when I was in London. Let me think now. 25 years ago, I had a music shop. Well, I'll rewind actually. So my background and my qualifications, I'm a qualified luthier. So I studied violin and guitar making at college and uni, and then I left and needed to get experience. So I worked at a place called Andy's Guitar Shop in Denmark Street, which is our Tin Pan Alley. It's quite a famous street in London where all the guitar shops are. When I was at uni doing my studies, I got that job specifically because I wanted to learn how to set up properly old 1950s and 60s guitars, like old Gretsch's and old original Gibsons, because you know you got all these weird bridges and tailpieces, and it's not even easy to change a string on some of those. So I was doing that, but then my other role on my course, which was quite unusual because most people studied only guitar, only violin, and I did both. So my other role was violin making, so I got a job in a violin shop as well. And what then happened when I left college is I still had both of those jobs, but I very quickly became self-employed and used my techniques and my knowledge to start doing repairs for multiple shops across London, and then music centres and music services and schools. And what I discovered, and this is how Replay was born completely accidentally, is that when I was going to all of these shops, they all had a little back room full of broken instruments. And after a year, those broken instruments were still there, so I questioned a number of those shops and said, well, why are those instruments still there? What are they doing there? How long are they going to be there? Well, we're just waiting to get them written off because we can't afford to fix them because the repair costs more than us replacing them with a new guitar. And that's when I kind of said, well, that's crazy. I'm a restorer. Can I take them and recycle them?
Right.
And you know, they were like, well, you're going to make money. It's like, no, that's not what I want to do. I've got friends who are single parent mums who can't afford to buy an instrument. So why can't I repair these and donate the instrument? And that is exactly how the project started. So I then ended up getting the music services to also donate their damages. And after about a year, I mean, my house was full of instruments. I mean, it was ridiculous. There were like instruments up the stairs on the left, under the stairs, in the cupboards, in the bathroom. You know, it was hilarious, but not funny really. But basically what happened is I started connecting more with organisations just through word of mouth. A friend would say, well, there's an organisation called Core Arts in Hackney, and they want to provide instruments to the adults with mental health issues, but they don't have a budget for that. And I said, well, how many instruments do they want? Well, here's 20 guitars, and I would donate them. And so that's literally how the project grew. And it got to a point where, as I was able to donate 1 day a week repairing instruments for free, because I was self-employed for 4 days a week and earning enough money, it also got to a point where suddenly I had 400 customers on my database, and they would tell their friends, and I would get people knocking on my door at 10 o'clock in the night saying, can you fix my guitar? And I'd be like, no, it's 10 o'clock in the night. So I got to a point where it was like, well, you know, I think I better open a shop because I can't have these people knocking on my door anymore. And I opened a music shop. And excuse me. When I opened the music shop, the project had more visibility because we suddenly had a shop window saying institution. Exactly. And I started a music school in the shop. And so that combination of having visibility for this community project grew. And then I started a World Music Club because there was a theatre next door. So we started putting live music on once a month, but it wasn't that common to have a World Music Club in this South London area at the time. And everything grew basically very naturally and organically. And it got to a point where we started running free lessons 1 evening a week in our shop for people who couldn't afford music lessons, and donating an instrument to them. And for old age pensioners, we started a free club. And it was really nice, you know, but eventually I couldn't keep the shop open because rents kept increasing. But, you know, the good thing is that shortly after I opened the shop, I had a friend who was running a cafe in the Kidsfield at Glastonbury Festival. And this was another kind of conversation that ended up being something coming from it, you know, like an experiment. They were saying, oh, these poor parents, their kids are so excited at the festival, they can't even come into the cafe and sit down for 5 minutes and have a cup of tea. Their kids are like, Mum, I want to go here. So I said, well, why don't we start a music workshop in the cafe? So we can distract the kids, but at the same time offer a really valuable educational workshop, and their parents can sit and have a cup of tea. And that's how the festival workshop started, exactly like that. So we did that the first year, and we were only offered like about 6 tickets, and I took like a huge van full of instruments. It was so funny. And we even made a sculpture. We actually had instruments that were so broken. We had like a cello, a double bass and violin, and we made a family in the tent out of the instruments. So, you know, there was like a dad, a mum, and 2 kids, which were the violins, and we painted faces on them, and it was just so funny. The kids were like, wow, that's so cool, let's play. And I mean, that was really popular. And before we knew it, you know, the cafe wanted us back. The Phil noticed it and just said, you know, that was great. Could we give you a bigger space in the cafe? And by year 3, our space was bigger than the cafe.
Nice.
So by year 4, we were given our own tent. And then the years went by, and now we program a whole music academy. We bring like 25 teachers, at least 100 instruments, of which I have personally fixed.
Come on, how many?
At least 100.
Incredible.
Yeah. And we teach, you know, every year we've become part of the kids' field. So I think we've actually been there for about 20 years. But in the actual format of an official project, probably 15, because the first 5 years were part of the cafe. But then the interesting thing is that I hadn't set it up as a CIC until 2 years ago. Because it just was running. It didn't kind of, it didn't evolve in that way. It wasn't, I woke up one day and said, let's set up a community project or a charity. It organically started and grew. So by the time the project got to this point, it was suddenly like, oh my gosh, how are we going to keep this running? We've been running it for so long, and now it's got to a point where it's really big and we need to keep it running, so we have to do something. So we set it up as a CIC 2 years ago.
Good.
And now we're doing even more collaborations and putting music workshops into the local community. Wherever we run a festival workshop, we want to also deliver something in the local community so that we complete that circle of giving back.
Great. So this conference is about networking and also success stories, but also a team. And Absolutely. Who was helping you at that moment when you were still making it at home, fixing those couple of tens of instruments, then establishing a shop? Who were some of the core members of your team who were helping you and are helping you still?
Well, my sister, because my sister came in when the shop got more and more busy. My sister came in to help run the music school because, I mean, I have very practical skills and she has very focused admin skills. So that's a great team. You obviously need that. And I think sometimes when you're wired up in that way, you just go, right, I'm going to go and put on a festival. You go out and you do it because you've got those go to do now really full-on energy skills. You're not necessarily dealing with all the paperwork. So it was great to have her involved because she would be like, hey, you, come here. We need to get all of this in order. And it was just really funny that she took the music school that started with just a couple of teachers to a level where we ended up with 200 students a week.
Beautiful.
And a lot of that was workshops, like really unusual workshops as well, because we taught frailing banjo. And that really wasn't very common like 15, 20 years ago in London, that you could just go and join a workshop and learn these American banjo skills. And then, we did like the normal Irish sessions, but then we did the old age pensioner classes, and then we did the freebie band building workshops for kids. I actually started a festival back then as well. We put on a festival across the borough where we had 7 music venues. We also used the underground Roman ruin site for spoken word, and the bandstand outside my music shop for the youth bands to give them confidence. And we had a very successful 4-day venue where we booked 120 bands across the borough, the 3 of us running the shop and just had a go at this, and it was successful. And that was the first event that I'd run. Didn't know what I was doing and just said, let's do it.
Right.
And it was great. Yeah.
So things are basically like opportunities open up, and then you just have to go, I feel this gut, I should go for it.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's often how events start. And I think that's often how the best festivals start, with the community. And you kind of see that you can offer something because, you know, the necessity's there and the want, and that's how good events succeed, because you know that they're wanted. And once you deliver and everybody's involved and you make sure that the community are included, because that's vital, then you've got a basis to grow that.
Okay. Were there some advisors for you within the instruments fixing from those 50s and 60s? When I was talking to, let's say, frontman of this Scandinavian band Vardruna, they play a lot of these very old instruments, and they have experts who are fixing the instruments. Who were some of the people who were helping you say, I can do that, but once in a while there's those 5%, it's like, I'm not sure how to fix this. Like, who was helping you?
Well, that's why I went to those specialist shops to learn, and that's where I got that knowledge. So I did 2 years at Andy's in Denmark Street, and if you look up Andy's, it's still there. It was the first guitar shop in Denmark Street, and the reason I wanted to work in that particular shop was because I knew that they were the ones working on all the original guitars, and I learned how to spray guitars and everything in that place. But they were the ones working on the Gretsch White Falcons and the 335s and all of those. And Graham, who was the main guy, he used to do repairs for Led Zeppelin and Chrissie Hynde and all of those bands. He trained me, so I was in good hands. So when it came to the point of me being able to take those instruments on and repair them properly, I understood them. But combining that with the knowledge that you gain and the skills that you gain from actually doing repair and restoration and making courses, I had all those other skills on top. So it just became a case of what knowledge can I take from the violin world and the guitar world, because you wouldn't repair a classical guitar in the same way as an electric, obviously.
Sure.
And you wouldn't repair a steel string guitar in the same way as a classical either, because you've got different strutting systems and you've got different types of wood that are used, so you wouldn't use harmful glue. And the knowledge that I gained from the violin world would be, this is reversible glue, this isn't going to do any damage, you can... All right. And I just logically crossed over those skills.
Okay. But still a couple of errors and learning from mistakes.
Always.
Like, oh, this instrument is screwed. Bloody hell.
Yeah. And I mean, actually the worst ones, because I also happen to have another skill which is quite unusual, because I did learn, I am a bow repairer, so I do bow rehairing as well, and I studied that with one of the main guys from a shop in London called Grivier's, which is a really old violin shop, and so I learned from one of the renowned bow makers and restorers there. But when it came to, I did actually learn how to reskin banjos as well from one of the oldest banjo makers in the country as well, who's no longer around. So again, probably the worst instruments I've worked on have been those round body instruments that need a banjo skin or an animal, because they can just fall apart. Even if they look well made, you can take that rim off and it can just all kind of go, and you're like, wow. They've been my nightmares.
You mentioned also that you are living in the countryside. Ecology is very important for you. I was just wondering, what are some of the festivals that are inspirational to you? I spoke to Sam from the British band Ugly, and he was mentioning Green Man and End of the Road. Do you like those festivals? I
haven't been to End of the Road, but I have been to Green Man, but only once. And I think so long ago, I'm not sure back then they were following those rules. I would say an inspirational festival for me on the environmental side would be the Green Gathering. So the Green Gathering was actually started by Sam and Jean, who started Green Futures Field, who I also work for at Glastonbury, and they started that field 40 years ago now, I think, approximately. When they came in, they were already running an event in Walton-on-Thames, like the London suburbs, called the Kingston Green Fair, and it was the first green festival in the UK. And it was a one-day free festival with multiple stages. I think they had 5 stages, and every one of those stages was delivered from solar power.
Okay.
And no one was doing this back then. I was only 16 when I went to that festival. So that was the first festival that I went to. And unbeknown to me, it was also revolutionary in the birth of the green revolution in the events world, if you like. So that was my kind of grounding, if you know, unintentionally. I think it was in the back of my mind that that's the way to do it.
Okay.
And then, you know, then I would go to festivals like Reading Rock Festival and stuff, because, you know, and see all those amazing bands that played back then. But when it came to me actually putting on events, that was my inspiration. And I didn't even know they were the guys that ran the Green Futures field. And that was all accidental some years later when I ended up coming into the field. But they also happened to start an event at some point called the Big Green Gathering. And that was the first fully green festival in the UK. And they started it many years ago, but it didn't survive. And then various other people came in to try to help it continue. And then it was reborn as the Green Gathering. And it is a perfect example of an off-the-grid festival. From not just from the transport incentives and the procurement and the way that they bring their vendors in and the rules that they... You can't even apply if you don't tick all these boxes as a vendor. Right. But, you know, the fact that from day one, that land is so looked after that they give it back to the landowner in better condition than they arrive.
Nice.
And it's got to a point where, because one of the ways to ensure that your event continues to remain as green as it can be is if you have a regular location. Because obviously then you can install things like storage, which reduce, you know, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it obviously reduces all that movement. But what these guys managed to do, because they do have a deal with an ongoing, you know, like, we want this festival to remain here, is they managed to take it to a level which I hadn't seen at any other event, where they have their own composting and their own allotment on the land. And the last year I went, which was actually last year, they provided and grew all the food that they fed to their crew on the land. So I think that's like such an incredible achievement. For me, that's the festival that is the one that people should be really looking at what they're doing.
We might use this story again tomorrow when you will be joining the panel about creativity and success stories. We can use that. It's a great one. But for the absolute final thing, I was just wondering if you could tell us shortly about some future dreams and plans that you have for your projects. This is still something that I would love to accomplish. Yeah,
so for the field that I'm one of the area organisers for, I do have a future plan actually. So when I came in, I kind of looked at everything that was going on and thought, okay, well, I can see what they're doing. I understand the field, I understand the audience. So what I'm trying to actually achieve, when I looked at all the stages that we have and the audience that we draw, is to evolve it into a world music field. So we do have the right audience coming in, and we are absolutely green. You know, it's a very amazing hidden discovery. All the green fields are at Glastonbury. The green fields at Glastonbury are, you've got your major commercial side with all the big bands who are incredible, and obviously you wouldn't even possibly be able to buy tickets to see some of these bands. But it's quite interesting when people stumble into our area and discover like this whole area away from all that pandemonium or whatever you want to call it, because suddenly you're in like the heartbeat of the festival, because these fields have been here from the beginning. So it's almost like, oh, there's a tiny little stage, but when they walk in, there's not just some, you know, there's an incredible talented band that have come from a part of Europe, or Eastern Europe, singing in their local language, blowing the audience away. And it doesn't matter that they aren't singing in English, because that's not important. All that is important is that they're good. And when the public come in and discover that, and when I first sort of experimented to see if I could get away with booking a band from the Baltics or, you know, Poland, again singing in Polish, I kind of thought, can I get away with this? So I experimented in where I positioned them, knowing that they would have an audience, saw what the audience reaction was like, and then thought, oh, I have to do more of this. And over the last few years, we've evolved that. We've really pushed the lineup and pushed all the other stuff that we need to do around that in drawing people to the stage. And this year was such a success story from only 3 years ago that people were coming into the tent, and, you know, we've got our cafe at the back, and they hear all the conversations, and they were coming over saying, you know, we heard these members of the public saying, we just discovered this stage, it's a hidden gem. And they go off and bring their friends back. And I thought, oh, this is a success, because 3 years ago was only when we'd really tried to put on a few bands that didn't sing in English. And now it's like 30 out of 69 of the bands on the stage I programme were from outside the UK. And a big portion of them were from Eastern Europe.
Great.
And it was an amazing achievement, and that's my goal, is to keep developing that whole field into a cultural zone where people discover the music and the culture and the backgrounds of where this instrument came from and a bit of history, so that then they kind of go away going, wow, who, you know. And I think that that's an inspiration and the love that comes from my music instrument making background. But it is amazing when you walk into a venue, right, and you see a band and you go, what are they playing? It just sounds incredible, and it doesn't matter if you can't understand anything, because music is a universal language.
Getting you a drink later, and we'll have a bunch of recommendations.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Really
okay.
appreciate
I
it.
hope that was okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much.